Hey, Producer Paul here. This is part one of a recent presentation that Pat gave at a mastermind entitled How to Win Everything in 2026. Make sure to listen to next week's episode, part two, and for more information, check out wealthygymowners.com.
I owned my first personal training business in 2004. The landscape has evolved considerably since then, but if you're new to this, you may not realize how young an industry this is, right? When I started this, let's just say there were no retired personal trainers, right? Like it was like first generation industry, so it's moved pretty quickly. Now the industry is evolving, I think, faster than it's ever evolved, but the fundamentals haven't really changed. Last few years, we've seen consolidation, like Orange Theory and Anytime Fitness merge, right? There have been people acquiring different things. Tech got really heavily involved. I mean, it was kind of this incremental ascension and then pandemic, and all of a sudden tech just boomed, and now it's kind of finding its way, and hopefully Todd will be able to offer a little more insight there too. We've seen a bunch of venture-backed boutique-like facilities. I mean, Exponential has all the different brands that are boutique-esque, and when I was in franchising the first time around, like private equity was not heavily involved in this space. Now this is kind of the trend, the fad for them to invest in this. And wellness integration, I mean, I can go back and show you emails where I was saying, this is coming, this is coming, this is coming in 2017, right? Like, and I think people thought I was a little crazy because they're like, I just want to stick with dumbbells and burpees and stuff, but I mean, now it's full blown here, right? I mean, people are trying to integrate it. They're throwing in stuff where there may be a medical professional that's actually part of a lot of the gyms. I mean, just a lot of that stuff is moving pretty quickly. For you, I think this creates new opportunities, but it also creates some threats. If you want to win, we kind of need to figure out like what won't change and then what has to change. And people still want all the same stuff that they wanted before, right? Like, I mean, I don't think people evolve nearly as fast as circumstances evolve. And they still want to look better, they want to feel better, they want to live, move, have better quality of life, self-esteem, all that fun stuff. But now, as this industry has evolved and more options have become available and people are more aware buyers, they want it more conveniently and they want it more personally. I would give you an easy example. Since I referenced like Moe's and then there's like Qdoba and Five Guys and stuff down the road and Blaze Pizza all in that shopping center. When I would have been young, I mean, there was sit down kind of mom and pop restaurants and really high-end restaurants that I never would have gone to, and then fast food. But now there are enough options. Somebody's like, hey, we're going to kind of mash this up and we're going to say we're going to give you something a little bit better. Still going to be convenient. You can personalize it. You can go down the line and customize everything the way you want it. I mean, that's just kind of how we are, right? Like, I mean, it used to take a long time to get stuff delivered, and then Amazon's like, no, we'll deliver it to you in 2 days, and we'll deliver it to you in 1 day, and then we'll deliver it to you overnight. And people just want things more conveniently delivered to them, whatever their experience is. And I think everybody, given the choice, wants something more personalized to them, right? And now, because there are more choices and we have a much savvier consumer base. When I started my first personal training business, about 85 to 90% of the clients we had never worked with a personal trainer before. Their introductory personal training session was the first time they had ever worked with a personal trainer. They may have had a health club membership before or a fitness center membership or whatever else, never with a personal trainer. Now, almost everybody has been in some coaching-driven environment, right? Most everybody has been to a boot camp, they've been to a boutique type of thing, a Yoga 6, burn boot camp, something. And this really kind of picked up about the time like Groupon emerged, right? So people could kind of sample a lot of this stuff without the big investment. It made it more mainstream. And whether or not you love or hate CrossFit, that kind of made it a little more mainstream too, because when I first did this, the only personal training studios were like high-end retail businesses like this. So there were a whole lot fewer of them. And then CrossFit kind of normalized the warehouse gym-esque type of thing. It's not that they were first, it's just, it wasn't rare anymore. It was very common. There was like one on every corner. So everyone's kind of thinking about, well, most people, not everyone, is chasing the next shiny thing. They get caught up. I mean, I saw a business expert in our space have a stack of books on AI the other day or whatever else, and like they're chasing this next thing, thinking the next thing's the answer. I assure you, tech isn't the answer, because whatever tech you think is going to be the thing then, it becomes outdated very quickly and it's easy to copy, right? I mean, I think that we had a really robust Orange Theory near my house, gone. Because they thought, oh, the machines are the answer, right? And they forgot that the executional and personal coaching is the number one thing here. And then you got to feel connected. You got to have relationships, because somebody can always copy this other stuff. And if you think technology or equipment or whatever else is your like magic bullet, you can get a head start with it, but it is never a permanent differentiator, never. So what won't change? I'm a big fan of this, and when I say this, I want you to understand, like, I get sometimes people kind of act like I'm antiquated about this or whatever else. I had a guy in the industry act like I was a dinosaur because I kept sending emails and stuff, and he wanted to chase a fitness Facebook page, and that was, and he made light of this. Like, I'm like, well, now tell me how popular fitness Facebook pages are. Like, Facebook pages are not a thing, right? Like, you're chasing something that's not the thing. Yet email still works. So I'm very much a fan of what won't change, but I'm even more of a fan of what works. And so if we build around what won't change is like our foundation, but then we say, okay, what are consumer preferences right now? What are trends kind of doing now so we can get people's attention? How does technology impact what we're doing? That's kind of the perfect marriage here. So what won't change? That has to be the foundation. I can show you ads that worked in the late 1800s where people wanted to feel better, to have more vitality, right? The language might have been different, but, self-esteem, energy, feel better, like that was still part of what they were really interested in. And so people are always going to want that. They're always going to want results. They're always going to want accountability, convenience, community. They're going to want to be made to feel important. We've got a guy in boardroom, Levi Memmer, who he is one of only a couple of people in boardroom who has a large group training facility. Most everybody is kind of shifted to more of an intimate, like small group type setting. But we had a couple of people go and attend his classes, like during the first night. They have like 375 members. Like, Levi knows everybody by first name, like everybody. And that's how you can get away with large group. If you make it feel intimate and personal and make people feel important, you can have 1 million people in the room. It's just most people don't pull that off, right? Most people make it transactional. So those things are never going to change. Now, what convenience looks like changes, right? I mean, there was a point when getting things delivered in the same week was convenient. I mean, we just had coffee delivered here from DoorDash. Before, convenience would have been, where's the closest coffee shop so we can get out and get back in 20 minutes? Now, convenience looks like somebody delivering it to you. So that's where this kind of marriage has to happen. People are going to want these things. What they look like is going to evolve a little bit. What accountability looks like is going to evolve. And I will tell you, a lot of people have really missed the mark on this. A lot of people think that an app or purely technology-driven things can provide accountability. It doesn't work because we know it's a machine. We know it's an app. So we don't have that same, somebody's watching, somebody's paying attention, somebody cares how I do. And this is why those things, they sound good, and then they flop. So we need to build around these things that I would call like timeless truths. Like they're going to be here. They're going to be here long after we're done with our businesses. I promise you, the things that I just alluded to are. It's just how they show up, how we accomplish them evolves. So the way I want you to think about technology is it should enable us to do these things that we want to do more efficiently. It should enable us to spend more time on what I would call like the on-stage stuff, not the off-stage stuff. Like I mean, anybody who knows us knows we're big Disney fans, been there so too many times, right? And they talk about guests and they talk about on-stage and off-stage. The on-stage stuff needs to be really personal. It needs to feel connected and make people feel valued and appreciated and important. But there's a lot of stuff that we can use tech for offstage, right? So don't get distracted by new toys. Don't think, like tech should help us do those timeless things better. It should help us in ways that maybe, like I would assume that there's a point that we're going to be able to use tech more to like if you would have been spending 3 hours a week on bookkeeping, you'll probably be able to spend 15 minutes a week on bookkeeping through technology, right? But you can do that because it's not front-facing. Front-facing stuff, we still have to be present. We have to be the draw. Not necessarily you personally, but the human element of what we do. All right, so in this new landscape, one of the things that I really like to do, and we did a talk about this, like I did a talk last week at Boardroom on innovation, not inventing things. I don't think I've ever invented anything, but innovation, like pulling ideas together and kind of meshing them. I think even if you don't like the competition, there are plenty of things to learn from businesses, whether they're in our industry, whether they're in, I prefer to look outside our industry, right? But still, competitors are doing 5 things that I think you need to be aware of and see how they may fit in for you. First is they're kind of blurring the lines between fitness and health and wellness. And forever, fitness for us was like, walk in this room 3 times a week for an hour and sweat. That was what fitness looked like. And to be honest, I mean, I was always really, even though it was my industry, I was kind of mystified as to how did we go? There's a YMCA that most of you passed coming here. They have a really long list of Group X classes. You can join the YMCA for like under $50 a month. You can get kickboxing, you can get body pump, you can get cycling, you can get all these classes. And so I was always just floored. I'm like, and they have childcare too. And it's like, so why are people paying $199 a month to go exercise in a park and bring their own dumbbells and mat if they can do all that stuff there? Even though I'm in this industry, it didn't make any sense to me. And that's why I was I think Doug really helped popularize small group personal training. I was calling smaller group stuff team training as early as like 2011. I can show you emails where we're talking about team training because I was just really skeptical of like, how does this work? How does somebody not figure out that just come and go, instructor has a mic on, there's no personal touch, it's like their stage, it's their performance. Like that can't last. But now fitness, some of these guys have gotten a lot smarter with this, and they understand that fitness and wellness and health and all this stuff, it's kind of blended together, right? Whether we're talking about longevity, whether we're talking about recovery stuff. I mean, even the baseball facility we were at the other day, I didn't show you guys this, but they have a recovery room. Normatec boots, all this other stuff, right? And then we went to a gym last night that has some baseball stuff inside of it, and they were hitting. I mean, they had that little recovery section. They had PMF stuff. They had Normatec stuff, all the rest. I mean, a lot of people are making that part of what they do, but I don't think they've integrated it. Like, they have it, but I mean, if we kind of back up and say, what do people actually want? They want to feel better, right? They want to be happier. They all these things. Well, understanding how this fits for you, and I even think there are gyms that have integrated mental health and in sports psychology. There are gyms who have integrated recruiting. Like, I think blurring the lines between different modalities or whatever else that are all kind of pulling somebody to where they want to go. Now, is it going to look different in 3 years, 5 years? Sure. But if you guys train athletes and they want to go play in college, there's this little pocket of get faster and stronger and more explosive and jump higher, and that's a piece of this, right? But all these other things go into them going and playing in college. They need to understand and probably get help with recruiting. They have to eat better. They have to recover better. I mean, you want the best recovery tool for young athletes, the best supplement for young athletes, sleep. Like, how about just sleep a little bit more? They need to have good grades. They need skill development, right? Like, there are all these things that go into that. So if we don't lose sight of where we're trying to go, then with the 50 and over crowd, like, if we're talking about menopausal women, then somebody needs to be talking about hormone replacement therapy in their gym. It's not like this siloed thing over on this other side, right? So you got to figure out where that fits for you, how you're going to accomplish that ethically and whatever else. But some people are doing this. And the more you say, I'm only going to be in this one lane for the deliverable, we've seen this a lot in like the baseball space. And I spend a disproportionate amount of my time when it comes to like gyms and stuff in that environment. Used to be, it was very siloed, like gyms that were just strength and conditioning facilities that focused on like, hey, we market a lot to these baseball guys. Well, now a lot of them have taken some of the skill development stuff in-house. I mean, we see this with Eric Cressy, like when they were first in Massachusetts, they had a batting cage, but they had a pitching guy who's now the Yankees pitching coach he was a high school pitching coach at the time. And he did lessons, but Eric had no input on what he was doing for lessons, didn't care. Like, it was just, this is a convenience thing. Now, if you go to their Florida location, they've got a full field, they've got physical therapy, they've got chiropractic, they've got hitting guys, they've got pitching guys, they've got technology, it's all integrated. So if you have the choice of like, hey, I'm going to go to this gym, then I got to go find this other thing, it gets harder, it gets clunkier, right? So figuring out what integration looks like for you. I mean, we saw it. I mean, they were at the baseball facility that we run our practices at yesterday. They did pitching stuff, and it was Fred has a baseball facility. How would you grade the pitching stuff you saw? I mean, I think it's very good. I think for this region, it's the best around. But they also had a hitting area that had technology for hitting. They had, I don't remember how many racks we have there. 6 maybe? How many what? Racks. Like lifting racks. At least. Yeah, they've got weights. They've got pretty much anything that you would want there and a recovery room. One-stop destination. So blurring the lines, figuring that out, like that's happening, whether we're talking about franchise competitors or people that are on the front end of stuff like Cressy. Data-driven personalization. The more we have the ability to aggregate data and the more we can use something like AI to help us understand things and use it without it being really clunky and cumbersome, I think people have wearables, whether it's a watch or heart rate monitor or whatever, right? How do we give people feedback? I mean, I think, and I know I talked about this in the innovation section, like in healthcare, they can monitor you at home, right? Like that probably is part of where some of us are going at some point here. We just got to figure out what that looks like. I don't know. Maybe Todd knows. I don't know. That's why I spend time with smart people like Todd to learn things. I think branded community experience, I mean, we saw this with like all the Tough Mudder type races, and then obviously some of that race stuff has endured. I mean, I just saw Perform Better touting like high rock stuff, right? And that's kind of a new thing, but that high rocks is not a new thing. It's a new thing for them. So events and challenges, and I think these connected community experiences, and it doesn't always have to be this really intense physical community experience. I think that if we're creating a community, a sense of connectedness, people have opportunities, right? Like people meet other people. It's not entirely dependent on you to be the lighthouse for everybody. Other people can connect with one another. I mean, to be fair, it's not unrelated to why we're doing a dinner together tonight, right? So each of you can build relationships with one another, and it's not just dependent on coaches, like to be your point of connection to a group. Hybrid, digital, and in-person delivery. Again, I feel like we're pretty early adopters to this. I mean, I was doing online training in fall of 2004, so that seems earlier than most of the people who are supposed experts in online training. But I mean, I just think people live in this world that is not entirely offline and not entirely online. I mean, whether or not you understand, like you are like the living perfect example of this. You're here in the room with us, in person. Some of you I saw on a Zoom like this week. Same deal, right? Most of you found me through an email or something. Again, very digital. So understanding how we blend these things to make sure that we don't lose the personal touch, but if there are ways that we can support somebody outside the 3 hours they may be with us in a room together and make them feel more connected and help them move towards their goals faster, I think that's important. And again, AI, I think some people are figuring out AI-enabled automation when it comes to things like marketing or scheduling or engagement. The problem is, like, how many of you have ever tried purely like AI follow-up for leads or something? Like, my experience with that to this point, on both sides of the fence, is it like a business coach seeing what people do and seeing them say, well, it was awful for us, it didn't work at all, or being the consumer who gets those messages. I'm like, you're missing the mark here. This is a critical point in this relationship, and you're omitting the relationship piece of it, right? Like, we have an opportunity to make a good first impression, and we're dropping the ball on it. So figuring out where it fits for you makes all sorts of sense. But thinking that it can replace the pieces that have to be human is really just saying, you know what? I'm not even going to run into an iceberg. I'm going to be my own iceberg and sink my ship here. So, all right. So where's our advantage in all of this? Well, in many cases, small still wins. And small wins because we're kind of agile and authentic. And I think authentic is an overused word that a lot of marketers talk about when they say their signature course and I'm going to be authentic and all. Really, it just means it's way easier to just be yourself than it is to imitate somebody else. And you try to attract people who gravitate to you. So if you guys can't handle the slower pace in which I talk or my silly accent or something like that, I try to put my marketing out there, so like podcasts and different things. So if you don't like me, we don't ever end up in a room together in the first place. Like, you're going to know. So I think authenticity matters with small stuff, right? It's still personal. You can build a connection with people. And then with small, we can be agile. If something doesn't work, we can do something different tomorrow. So I am notorious, and probably to Matt's continual frustration, if something doesn't work on Tuesday, if we send out something that doesn't work on Tuesday at like 1, the latest we're going to send something different is like Wednesday, right? Sometimes it may be at Tuesday at 4. But, you know, when I've consulted with, like I did a little bit of stuff with this hospital-owned facility that they're like a $3 billion healthcare organization. And everything took forever to get out the door. And then I go back to, I did some stuff with the university I used to work at last year. An email to invite people to our 25th anniversary celebration of our World Series team, that I wrote the email and I gave them the list of the people to send it to. Took 3 weeks to get out. Like, that's our advantage, right? Like, everybody has all these hoops they have to jump through. They have this, they want to make decisions by committee. They have this 7-person chain of command that everything has to be approved by. Something doesn't work for you, you could change it instantly. So agile is big. Authentic is big. And that, like, I've worked in the franchising world. I was franchisee number 33 of Anytime Fitness. So that's pretty early on when they had 3 employees total, two of the owners and an administrative assistant. So I was in that franchise world for a long time. Before Fred started winning the awards there, I was winning some of the awards there. So we got that market cornered. But then we founded 2 franchises. I've consulted with franchises. We're in that kind of world right now. Most franchising is designed to have employees be very transactional so they can hire like the lowest common denominator employee. And that doesn't mean that everybody who works at a franchise is that, but the model is such that it's not dependent on rock star employees, right? And it makes sense, right? That's how you scale. So because of that, there's not that same level of authenticity. There's not that same level of personal, right? They know that, hey, if you guys keep trainers for an average of 2.5 years, they're probably keeping trainers for an average of 6 months. And then it's just a revolving door. In most cases, I'm not saying all cases, but that's the norm for franchising. Franchising, the biggest franchises in the world are the ones that execute that at the highest level, right? Like, there's, 25,000 Subways? Because it doesn't take like a highly trained chef to be behind the counter and be your sandwich artist. So that's how this works, right? So you've got to lean into, hey, I can be authentic, I can be personal, I can be more skilled, I can be more interested. All right, so having a true community, again, like, hey, we've all been young people, first job, whatever else. A lot of us worked in somebody else's gym or somebody else's facility. I'm guessing that you were better at your job now than you were then, right? Because at that point, we don't know what we don't know. We're not as invested in the relational part of this. you can build community now that other people, even if they could, they're not interested in doing it. Where you know people's name, like I just alluded to with Levi, right? You can make faster pivots. You can build local trust. Doug's going to talk about local marketing as his talk. And make no mistake, we are huge fans and advocates of paid advertising. Huge, because I think it's that thing that's running alongside what we're doing in the local world, because it's 24/7, right? If you're on vacation, it can still be working for you. You can't be at the business meeting that Todd was hosting before this or the networking meeting if you're in the Bahamas. But your ad could be running. So there's a lot of leverage there, but local trust, I mean, I like your odds getting out in the community, attending that meeting that was here before us, over the person who just got hired at Orange Theory 3 weeks ago and is now going to go represent them, right? So we can build a lot of local trust. We can have some durability so we last longer, right? Even if you're not necessarily the coach in your business anymore, having an owner connection where the owner has a relationship with other people in the market, I think is hugely valuable. And then you get to shape a culture that if you make people feel valued and important and appreciated, that, I mean, again, the bigger boxes, most of the bigger faceless, nameless, private equity owned franchises, that's not their thing, right? They're way more balance sheet focused than they are culture focused. And that doesn't mean the balance sheet part isn't really important. It means that you can be driving a culture that makes your business stickier, right? So these businesses are not going to replicate the humanity, the connection, the adaptability. So these are our opportunities. These are our strengths. You may not be in high traffic Class A real estate, but that just means you have, they're paying heavily for that as marketing, right? I mean, if you think about it, that's all that really is marketing. They're saying, okay, I'm paying $20,000 a month for rent, and you're paying $5,000 a month for rent, so they're spending $15,000 a month more for intrusive visibility. That's $180,000 a year. If you use your $180,000 a year right, you can get a whole lot more mileage out of that than intrusive visibility. You could probably get more mileage out of it with half that much.